Hi, welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Natalia, and today I wanted to share what I'll be crocheting and knitting for the winter. I'm really taking winter to mean December, January, and February. I think it's just easier to plan by season for where I live. And that does mean that by the time this goes out, I'll have already actually started what I'm crocheting and knitting. But with that, let's jump right in to crochet first. So for crochet, I'm actually going to take on fewer projects or just plan on fewer projects just so anything that comes up on Instagram or Ravelry, anything that looks interesting to me, I can still take on and enjoy that process rather than having a list to go through. So the list is small, but there's also some pretty big things on it. So starting with plushies, the first thing I want to make is some sort of Christmas reindeer or moose that is based on this pattern. So this is Mac the Moose, and I've made this pattern a couple times now, but I want to take a Christmas spin on this. So I don't know quite what that'll look like yet, whether it's just make it green and red or green and white, green, red, white. If I'll just have a scarf that's that color draped around him, if I'll make the antlers a different color, the body a different color. So I'm not sure what that'll look like yet, but I think the easiest way for me to try and do something Christmassy is with something that I already know and with a pattern I've already done so many times. So I'll take a spin on Mac the Moose and see what I come up with that is more Christmas themed. But that's actually the only plushie I have in mind. I imagine that I'll start seeing things come through my feed for both Christmas and Valentine's Day because that is in February as well. And it'll just look interesting and fun and cute, and I'll want to make those right then and there. And so I don't want to put too many plushies on my list just because I know those will come up after I've already made this list, and I'm more interested in those than the ones that I had planned on in the beginning. So that's the only plushie on my list. But the other two projects for crochet are very big projects. They're both blankets. And I've mentioned in the past the overlay mosaic blanket patterns that I've seen, including this one, which was the first one I ever saw. And I think it's absolutely stunning. There's this other one as well that I think is meant to represent all of the seasons. And I think it's absolutely gorgeous as well. But there are two that, well, one that caught my eye and one that I wanted to create just to have an easy one to practice on. So the first one is the super simple, just square one. And I created this pattern just honestly to get used to the technique of overlay mosaic, just test my tension with every row that I'm making and have something at the end that I actually will use as well because I still like it. So I have not tested this pattern yet. I literally just created by drawing it out. And on the paper, it makes sense to me how it would work and the different stitches that I need to make. But I'll hopefully be starting that this coming week when my yarn arrives. So I intend to do the background cream color. I think I actually ordered one that's called Natural. And the other one, I'm going to use the Karen Anniversary Cake, either the color Book Club or the color Rainbow. I have two of those cakes of each of those colors. So I'm not sure which one will look good with the color Natural that I ordered. I think either one will be fine. But I do want to use one of those so that it's still colorful, but a bit more subdued paired with that natural cream color. So that's the first one I want to make. Very easy, very simple. I think it's just a lot of repeats and give me a chance to get comfortable with that technique. And then the second one I want to make is way more ambitious than that one. And I don't think I'll finish it this winter. Probably not next winter either. It'll probably take me 2 to 3 years to do this, if I'm being honest, just because I can only crochet blankets in the winter because they're sitting on my lap and my apartment is naturally very warm. So it's very uncomfortable to knit when it's, not cold and I'm actively wanting to use a blanket. But the second blanket I have in mind is this one. It's the bookcase blanket. And it's absolutely beautiful. As a bookworm, as an avid reader, I think it just makes sense for me to build something like this. I currently have a stack of like 30 books right there next to my couch of books that I want to get through. That's one of my goals for 2025 is just to read more of the books that I own rather than from the library because I have so many that I just have not gotten to. But this blanket is just absolutely beautiful, and there's so many different iterations of it just because they're individual panels. They're essentially squares that you can mix and match as you want. And so if you go on Ravelry and look through the projects on there, you'll see there's a ton of variation, a ton of different ways that people have put this together. There are some that are just absolutely beautiful. So I've started laying out how I want it to look like, and I'm now trying to figure out how do I do different colors within the same row so that I can have the background, the books, and then some of these items that are more of a pop of color, but still do the reversible stitch so that it's on the other side as well, rather than just the rows on the back side. So I need to do some testing with that, maybe just a small, similar to a gauge swatch, but just to test how do I change colors across rows and then going up to understand how do I do multiple colors, but and at the same time do the reverse stitch. So this is a super ambitious project. I hope to get started on it this winter, but I know I won't finish it by the time I need to put it away just because it'll get too warm for me to work on it. And I do intend to make it a pretty big size. So far, the design I've started on is, I think, 5 panels by 6 shelves. So that'll get me around a twin to full size blanket, if I'm doing my math right. So it'll be big. It'll be an undertaking, that's for sure. But I am super excited to get started and to draw it out and see what I really want to put in here and how to make it my own. So those are actually all the crochet projects that I have on my list, just because I know I will see some come across on the various Facebook groups that I'm part of, and I'll want to make those right when I see it. So I'm going to leave the list nice and short and just enjoy it, especially because those 2 last projects are pretty big. And then on the knitting side, I also only have 2, maybe 3 projects. For knitting, I started like working on this swatch that I think I've shown in the past, and essentially it was just to get the hang of it, figure out how to hold the needles, figure out how to do the different stitches, understand like when I make a mistake, if I lose a stitch, how do I pull it back up, how do I fix that, etc. And so I was just practicing with this, and that's not meant to be anything. But I feel comfortable now that I have a good idea of how to hold the needles, how to read a pattern, how to fix mistakes, etc. So I feel more comfortable saying that I'll take on an actual proper knitting project coming up here. So the first one I want to make is a beanie, just because it's a small item. It's still got increases and decreases, so it's not simply, a flat rectangle like a scarf would be, because I do want to practice those different stitches, because eventually I do want to move primarily into sweaters. But I think a beanie, I found this one by Sorella. I think she called it the family beanie just because she created so many different sizes for people to follow. And it's free on her website, and it looks fairly simple. I can read the pattern and see like, okay, I know all of these stitches. I have practiced all of these stitches so far. And so let's dive right into it. And thankfully, the yarn that she recommends and the substitute for it is already a yarn that I have at home. So I'll just grab a skein of that and try it out. So, and I think that'll help build my confidence as well to take on a bigger knitting project and see how I go. So the first one is a beanie. The second one, we're back to the sweater. So sweaters are really the thing that I want to learn to knit for. And I'll come back to this sweater right here, which is the tutorial that I had seen on YouTube months back that I've been wanting to follow from the beginning. So it's a raglan. It's a very simple construction. And as soon as I think I finished the beanie, if I feel confident and I feel like I got good tension on the beanie, I figured out how to fix my mistakes, because I know I will make mistakes. I think as soon as I finish the beanie, I will go on to this sweater. And I don't know when that'll be. I don't know if I'll start and finish the sweater in December, if it'll take me 3 months to actually build it. But I do know that it's my first attempt. And if I feel comfortable with how that turns out, between reading the pattern that she has on her website and following her tutorial on YouTube, I would like to move on to a plain, simple pattern, but just pattern without a video tutorial. And I think for that, I would probably choose something from Petite Knit, just because her designs are so famous. So many people have knit those that I think it's likely the simplest pattern for me to follow as a beginner that will be well written, very well tested, because so many people have knit it. And I can try something new that is pattern only, and probably a chart in there. I actually don't know. But yeah, so just those two and maybe a half items for knitting as well. The beanie, the sweater that's already the tutorial, and maybe if I still have time in February, jump into a petite knit sweater as well. So that's it for my winter plans so far, and I'm sure other things will come up. So when I do a check-in a couple weeks' time, there will probably be a plushie or two, or a different beanie or a scarf thrown in there just for fun, because I saw it, I thought it was pretty, and also wanted to make it. So I'm excited for this season. I think I really like what I'm planning to make, and I'm excited to actually get started and enjoy the process of making them and then using it after I'm done with them. So with that, thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.